Hi everyone, my name is Ava Yap and I'm the executive producer for STC's winter drama With Their Eyes. I want to thank you all for watching through YouTube. I know that this is very different from traditional STC shows, and while we do wish that we were able to have a live audience, unfortunately due to Omicron, we want to stay safe and make sure that everyone is healthy and that our cast members are able to safely perform. So for those of you who don't know, With Their Eyes is a play created by our very own Miss Toms back when 9/11 happened. After the aftermath of the tragedy, Miss Toms gathered a group of STC students who interviewed Stuyvesant students, faculty, teachers, and created a set of monologues which would eventually become With Their Eyes. This is a retelling of 9/11 in the eyes of the Stuyvesant students from back then. So not only is it a piece of Stuyvesant history, but it's also really a piece of STC history. So before we get into the show, I have a couple of people that I really need to thank. For starters, I have to thank my wonderful 3 producers, Samuel Espinal Jr., Vanessa Chen, and Eliza Oppenheimer, for helping me with everything I need to get done. I also have to thank our 2 amazing cast directors, Michael Borzek and Nicole Itkin, for making sure our cast knows all their lines and know how to do all of their actions. After that, I have to thank all of our cast and crew members. Our crew members often get pushed behind the scenes, so I'm going to shout out every single crew we have, which would be art, props, lights and sound, tech, stage, and oh my god, I'm forgetting some costumes. I'm so sorry, costumes, but all of those crews are so amazing, and none of this show would happen without them. Okay, I also have to thank Hayden Lee and Francesca Namati for our Playbill art and for our lovely Playbill photos. And I also have to thank Christine Lin for helping us with, who is also our STC communications manager, for helping us with recording the show, as well as our amazing PA volunteers. I also have to thank our faculty advisors, Dr. Berman, who's been there by my side for this whole entire show. Thank you very much. Also, Ms. Bernstein, who is our wonderful tech supervisor, and also our new lights and sound supervisor, Dr. Winkle. In addition, obviously, a big thanks goes out to Ms. Maggiu and Mr. Ramirez, who are our other STC advisors. Finally, I have to give a big thanks to Miss Toms and the original cast of this show. Obviously, without them, we wouldn't have the show to put on. And not only that, but Miss Toms has been so helpful with creating the show. Not only has she donated books for the SEC cast to read from, but she also set up meetings for us with the original cast so that our cast members would be able to talk to them about their experiences and learn more about their characters. So big thanks to all of them. And finally, big thanks to all of you who are watching. I know that this is not ideal, but we hope that the show will shine through and that you'll be able to understand what all of these Sci students went through, even in a virtual format. So thank you for watching and supporting STC. And with that, I will let this show start. Thank you.
Well, September 11th was also my senior picture day. So I get up in the morning and I took half an hour fixing my hair, put on a suit, really uncomfortable dress shoes, big shirt. And I didn't want to carry all my books around, so I thought I'd just leave everything in my locker. Well, yeah, I just recently got my cell phone, so I was carrying that around the whole day. So I get up in the morning, came to school normal, came to school early, put all my stuff in my locker, and I was only carrying a folder around. I was in French class when it happened. I swear I didn't hear anything. But my French teacher that I swear is like 165 years old, she comes in about 20 minutes late. Well, she needs to scan our books we need for the year, and she starts, "Well, I was looking in the office for a scanner, and the chairperson says, well, a plane hit the World Trade Center." And she says, "Well, okay, I still need the scanner." And he says, No, didn't you hear what I said? A plane hit the World Trade Center." well, okay, I still need the scanner. So yeah, she gets the scanner, and she comes into class and she tells us this, and we all laugh, because we don't know what's going on. So we're, okay, the plane hit, I didn't really register, you know? We heard it from her, and okay, she just goes on scanning our books. So then I walk into physics, which is right after French. That's when I see the building, and then I see the smoke, and I'm like, holy shit, that's not just her being delusional. Something pretty bad's going on. And then I felt it.
Well, I don't know. I guess my story is different from everyone else's. For a while, I didn't have a house. I was living in different places. I had a bag of clothes. I had one plastic bag that sometimes got filled with stuff if we went to like Kmart to get underwear or socks. Maybe a t-shirt or two, but I had a bag, and that was what I carried with me. I had my backpack next to a plastic bag, and that was who I was for a while. And then we went to live upstate with my cousin for a while, which was, pretty weird. I was, basically all I did up there was just sit. We were out on this lake, Great Sacandaga Lake it's called, just sitting. And I would just sit there and stare at it, And when I wasn't staring, I was, shooting hoops on this tired old backboard that they'd put on up over the driveway. Sometimes reading, sometimes sleeping. For a while, it was nice to sleep a lot because if you sleep, you don't have to think so much. If you gotta read, you think. If you sleep, you don't have to deal with it. I don't dream for whatever reason. I never have. Not much, anyway. And I didn't dream during this either. No nightmares, no nothing. I just slept. Kind of like Jack Burton in All the King's Men, just the great sleep. I would just sit there. I stayed in bed as long as I could. But eventually, of course, you have to get up and do anything to occupy the time, which was, I don't know. I was the bag man for another couple of days, And so then we finally get to go back home to pick up some stuff. We took the train down. I think it was the 6. And the first thing was the air. I'm sure everyone has talked about the air, but it's funny because, it felt on the outside like something that you might, smell at or feel at a barbecue. But it didn't. No, it hurt you. It hurt your windpipe. I could feel like things collecting on my esophagus and on my lungs. And that's not something I am ever gonna forget. And we walked into our house, and it was like walking into a black and white photograph. We'd left the windows open that day. Everything was just gray or black or even a dusted color. It was like walking into a portrait. The house just, it was just dirty. You know, when things are dirty, it's a multi-sensory thing. It's like, I don't know, I guess I'm saying it again, but it was like walking into a portrait. It was just dirty. It wasn't even my house anymore. You know, and then I finally got into my room, and which for whatever reason, things looked fine. Everything was the same color as I remembered it. You know, my carpet, the red comforter, even the clothes I had left flying all about the floor. It was all exactly as I'd remembered it. You know, every time I wanted to change of clothes, my mom had to get out her wallet. You know, but this time I could just put something on, something I had worn before. You know, no breaking anything in, no, I could just put something back on, which, you know, it felt really nice. You know, in fact, I put on a couple of my favorite old shirts for the rest of the day, just so I could have something familiar on.
We've heard from maybe 200 schools, not individuals. We've heard from thousands of individuals, but all of these boxes are still not open with banners and cards and cranes, and we've had an outpouring from the world with letters. You know, I still am not caught up with saying thank you. Wishing us well, people coming to visit. There are beautiful banners everywhere. And this young woman, I got a call from California saying that they wanted to bring a banner, and I guess there was a Miss Teen America or something, and this girl is Miss Cali, Miss Golden State Teen. And because she won some sort of pageant, and so she came with her family. I remember we went into the conference room and she presented a banner, and then we had some kids that she could talk to. She told us a little bit about the contest and so on. It's like Miss America, you know. She had to have a talent, and you know there was a bathing suit and evening gown, and also she had to have a platform, you know, something that she wanted to do to help. And her platform, what she wanted to do to help, was to reach out to Stuyvesant and the people of New York and just send wishes. So it was a little bit of I'm not used to someone in a tiara walking the streets of walking into Stuyvesant. So it was fun. It sort of gave a little levity to the whole situation.
Normal? Not really, considering we got back to school and we weren't allowed out. I mean, at first I understood why we weren't, with all the checkpoints and all the police around and all the hazardous material. But now that we've calmed down, I really think that we should be allowed to go out for lunch. And, you know, we don't need to walk around with our ID cards all the time. I mean, who's gonna come into Stuyvesant that's gonna do something to us? And the fact that they didn't want our alumni back here for Thanksgiving, I think that's really wrong. Because do they really think that our alumni pose a threat to the Stuyvesant community? I really think the the freshmen reacted a lot calmer than I thought they would. They even seemed to have the situation more under control than some like juniors and seniors I know. They, talking to them after, 9/11, they seemed kind of disjointed from the whole thing, because I guess they weren't here for as long as, most of us. And they haven't had like the opportunity to go, visit World Trade and shop there and, just have the whole experience of it. They haven't they didn't get to experience World Trade as we know it. So I don't think they were as affected, unless, they had family members that were lost. I mean, I talked to some of them, and they were kind of, that day they were afraid, because, they're frustrated, and they'd just come to the school. They hardly had like a full day of school, and this happened. They were kind of scared going home. But after that, and after we went to Brooklyn Tech and everything, they actually handled the situation with a level of maturity that I didn't expect. Well, I called them, and I talked to them, and I asked them if they needed any help or anything. Most of them were like, nah, we're fine. They don't really, they're big kids. The day of 9/11, I went straight home. I didn't even think about going to Red Cross. I just needed to make sure everybody in my family was okay. And even though I did lose one of my aunts, I just didn't want to keep thinking about. She was missing, and we didn't know where she was. And then the next day, Red Cross called me in the morning and was like, "Can you come in?" And I really didn't know if I wanted to, if I wanted to stay at home, but I figured, you know what? I need to do something. I need to get my mind off of everything. I just felt really helpless staying at home, So I decided to go to Red Cross, and we opened up the shelter at Shea Stadium. There were firefighters and police officers too, just a rest spot to eat and to sleep and to have hot showers and, new clothes. And every day we were there. And, they'd say 300 firefighters would be coming. And the truth was, 300 firefighters did not come because Shea Stadium is in Queens, and most police officers and firefighters didn't want to leave their area. Come all the way from Manhattan to Queens. But we did get a group of firefighters from Ohio, from Brooklyn, Ohio, and Parma, Ohio, and they were really great. Some of them were really cute. And we also worked at the Red Cross chapter, collecting donations and money and, things like that. The day it happened, people were so willing to give. They sent us so much money, and they sent us anything. And basically, that first night and that first day or so, we took anything. And then once our needs were kind of, met, we started asking people for certain things. It would be on the news, and then 5 minutes later, 500 calls would come in. We have this, and this. Do you want it? And we were like, okay, drop it off here. And as soon as people heard that we needed it, it would be there. Oh, and people really wanted to donate lots of money, and now they're waiting lists at the hospitals. It's just really amazing, how everybody pulled together and reaching out, and it's amazing. People sent so much money. Checks were $100, and kids would pull together their little piggy banks, and schools sent in money. It's really amazing because I was talking to one of the managers at the chapter, and he was like, we don't even have this much money. The amount of money we collected this week alone, we didn't even get all of last year, which is really funny. But in times of need, people do give.
everyone was pretty frantic that day, and I was just kind of going north on my bike, and I was trying to. People were like leading groups of kids, and for some reason I don't think anyone from Stuyvesant really wanted to catch a ride, because for whatever reason I couldn't really find anyone who wanted to go with me. But I did eventually go north by myself. But I did go between groups of kids on my bike, because I had my bike, and the stupid thing I did was, while we were evacuating the kids, once we got them all to the first floor and they were all there, I went back up to the third floor. I felt like, this is it, we're gonna die, but I had to get my bike out of there, because I'd locked it in Society's office so that, sorry. So I go into the Society's office, and the whole building's empty, and I unlock my bike, and I bring it down, and I continue to bike north, but it was weird too, because the more north you bike, the more normal the city got. And by the time I got to Washington Heights, I live on 157th, you wouldn't even know that anything had happened at all. Well, the gift bag was pretty nice, whenever a company gives you lots of free swag, it's always a deal, right? I guess the actual face of it, none of these are permanently gonna, none of these gifts are permanently gonna change my life. I guess we got Discmans, but they're kind of low-end Discmans. Who am I kidding? Who am I to judge it? It's a free Discman. It's amazing, actually. Oh, and the CDs and whatnot. Oh, it was a really nice thing, actually. It was a really thoughtful and caring thing to do. So, I'm certainly in no place to judge, but ideally the kids would have gotten them. Because most of the stuff I got were things like toys and action figures and products, like this weird free popcorn. Like, it almost seemed like products they were testing. Oh, and we made this popcorn, and when you eat the popcorn, you expect a certain type of sweet sensation. It's a little bit odd. Oh, and we also I had this script writing committee session, and all my kids came, so I gave away around like half the stuff in my bag. I did keep some of it though. The bag itself is very useful. Sometimes I use it to bring my laundry into the laundry room, so that's something. A part of me did feel a little bit of regret, like, did I really deserve this? I guess I was helpful in evacuating and getting the kids out of there, and I guess I was also, relaying messages on my bike, but it was just leaving the building. I think it all turned out okay. It was good. It was cool. It's certainly great PR for the companies. I certainly feel predisposed to want to buy their products now. Also, I was one of the teachers who got a black bag instead of a blue bag, so that was pretty special.
I'm a school lunch helper, and I'm here by 7 o'clock, and I help set up breakfast for the kids. And right after breakfast, right on into lunch period, we prepare till 1:45. We went to Brooklyn Tech. We didn't have to take any food over there, but finding out how to get over there was sort of stressful. But I made it there okay, and When we got there, it was a matter of adjustment because our kids came in like 1 to 1:30. So we had to go there like maybe our regular working hours, and the other workers from Brooklyn Tech, they were still there. So we were trying to prepare while they were there, bopping up into each other, trying to prepare for Stuyvesant kids. And they have a big kitchen there and a big staff, and because they have a big staff, that locker room was just unbearable. So trying to get in and out while were getting out, it was sort of stressful, but we got it done, and we were required to stay there until maybe 6:30. Our kids started eating at 1:45, so we were there from 5:15 to 5:30, at most maybe 6:30. I enjoyed getting up late in the morning because I didn't have to get up so early, but when we got out of there, it was dark. It didn't dawn on us at first that we were leaving there at 6:30 in the evening, but I guess we got used to it. Right after World Trade that Wednesday, well, no one came to work, and Thursday and Friday we went to other schools, and that Monday, the following Monday, we were required to report back here to feed the workers in the area. We were required to come back here and feed the workers, and it was stressful when we were first coming down. The air was not good. Like getting off the train, the air was just smoky. And I wore a mask, but I didn't know how much good it would do, But thankfully I didn't get sick or nothing, Thankfully I didn't get asthma. But, I'm still very much concerned. Like, I drink a lot of water, and I was putting stuff in for my throat, try to keep my throat clean with zinc lozenges, but I don't know. I guess I'm very concerned health-wise, but, I'm very thankful that I didn't get a headache or nothing like that. Getting off the train, trying to come here, you need ID. So we had to stand outside online in order to get proper ID to come into the building. And we were working like 24 hours around the clock. Some was working from 4 to 8, and some was working from 8 to 12 at night, and some was working from 12 to 8, and so it was just a lot of preparation, a lot. And they were coming in, picking up food, taking it back down to ground zero, so it was round the clock, making sandwiches, preparing salads, vegetables, hot food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, you name it. One man, he came by and passed out, some information suggesting what can help us to relieve stress. But what he suggested to me was just not enough, because I'm a religious person and I'm a Jehovah's Witness, and I found a lot of comfort from the Bible. And by going to my meetings and praying, I've never prayed so much in my life, and just reading and reading the Bible, that really helped me cope with coming back down here. Getting up in the morning, knowing I have to come back down to Stuyvesant near ground zero. So that helped me cope a lot.
In 1993, the bang was very, very loud. I thought the chemistry people had done something stupid with an experiment. This time, the bang wasn't as loud. So I went downstairs to the first floor because I knew from 1993 that the Secret Service would use this as a triage center. They had told us afterward, there were meetings after 93 that if anything ever were to happen, that Stuyvesant would be used as a triage center. So I knew they were going to use the gyms, and I knew they were going to use the theater, and when I went downstairs, there were already people coming in from the outside because they wanted to use the telephones. And so I told our kids who wanted to use the phones to come to my office so that they could, but by that time, I don't think the phones were working. And then I started to bring in people from the outside into the theater. I remember there were mothers with carriages, and, I sent for some people from guidance to talk to the ones who were fairly hysterical because, They couldn't deal with it. And then there was an announcement. Everybody go to homeroom. And I have a homeroom. My homeroom is in the lecture hall. And at that point, the Secret Service came in too and said, everybody out of the theater. So everyone who was in the theater came into the lecture hall with my homeroom. And there were mothers and babies. And one of them said, oh, I don't have any milk. And one of my kids said, from my homeroom said, I'll go up to the cafeteria. The kids did not panic at all. It was wonderful. I remember the lecture hall, you know how there's an exit on the other side. The boys carried all the carriages out and then let the mothers and kids and all those people out. And then we went out the exit. We were among the first to get out because the lecture hall is so close to the north exit. And then the police were outside there saying, run. At that point, there were some kids crying. And so I told the kids, every kid that I saw, because I couldn't even keep my own homeroom together anymore, I said, okay, I want you to hold someone's hand. I don't care if you know them or not, but I want you to hold on to somebody and don't let go. And don't look back. And I didn't look back. I don't remember the buildings falling. I think one of them fell while we were here because I remember the lights flickering, but no, we just ran down to Pier 40. And we were among the first to get there because we had left so early. So I waited there. And I told the kids, well, because I knew from 93 that the chances of getting transportation would be minimal. So I told them, okay, if you live in Manhattan, go home. If you know anybody in Manhattan, if you have an office uptown, walk there and take somebody with you, from Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island. Just take somebody with you. It doesn't matter if you know them or not. And if you have a cell phone, call them. But just stay with somebody.
I got a call from my supervisor to assist in evacuating kids from PS 234, right over there on Chambers Street, protecting children from collapsing towers, making sure they're not trampled by the onslaught of people. Circumstances that I ordinarily wouldn't have to face if it weren't for these bastards. And I could think of other names to call them. It's sort of like it just happened. Young people are being so cavalier, the advantage of youth. Young people that have the ability to aspire to be supermen and women. Young people that are able to act as if nothing ever happened. I noticed that about a lot of young people. They could smile, they could laugh, they could carry on as if nothing had happened. And then you find out that you do have human weaknesses, and oh my God, I could die. And you are aware of your mortality. For a little while, I feared for my life. I could have died that day, conceivably, potentially. Maybe not, but who knows? There's a chance that anything could happen. Exactly. I got caught in that second cloud by the collapse of the North Tower, and I got grit and dust everywhere. And, what a funny thing this is. A funny, odd little thing. A peculiar little quirk. But the day before, on Monday evening, I had taken the time to shine my shoes. And it's kind of weird I took the time to shine my shoes, but I did a good job, right? And that Tuesday morning, I was dusting myself off from the debris of the North Tower, and I shook off my clothes and I looked down, and my shoes were a whole nother color. They were completely covered. And in that moment, I thought to myself, I just shined them yesterday. And, it was in that moment that an odd little thought just popped into my head. A peculiar little thought. It was totally absurd. I thought for just a moment that if I have never shined my shoes, maybe this whole thing may never have happened. And as absurd as it sounds, in that moment, it sort of made me laugh and cry at the same time. I called it my morbid moment. If it was something as simple as that, I don't think I would have shined my shoes ever. I was always very patriotic. I'm not a violent person. Part of me felt like taking up arms and going to Afghanistan. I'm a middle-aged guy. If I could have, I would have. This uniform, my authority, whatever, I try to exercise all of it well, but I wish I could do more. These kids, I try to, if somebody isn't having a good day, I can imagine that if I'm not having a good day, I can imagine that somebody else is feeling that way too. I try not to come off as overly officious. I try not to come off as overly imposing. And if I catch somebody cutting, I still tell them to please go back to class, that it's not time for that, and it's not time for me. I'm not looking to get anybody in trouble, and that's always been my approach. And sometimes I'll give a little lecture. We all have our responsibilities. I have mine, you have yours, so please get back to class. I don't keep a score of the number of people I've caught cutting from day to day. If I've caught no one cutting, then I've had a good day. I felt that I was always more than just a school safety agent. I felt that not only that, but I was also saving my country. I try to do normal everyday stuff, but I'm not the same person that I was. It took me quite a while to sit down and watch a movie without. When I tried to distract myself, I was too conscious that I was distracting myself. Oftentimes, I'd turn it off, or I'd turn it off and watch the news. I need to know. I can't not know, I try not to watch, but I can't not watch. I need to know as many details as possible. I gotta figure out this puzzle. And you know how they say your life sort of flashes in front of you? And I've always wondered about that. I've wondered whether it's a film on fast forward or what. What is it? But, it's a slideshow. It's a flash of photographs in your head. And what would have been the last photograph in my head, and my last spoken word, was my son. I pictured him in my mind, the last thing I thought I would ever utter in this world. He lives with his mom. We're going through some post-divorce situations right now, and she's being very selfish with him. So of course I haven't really gotten much of a chance to speak to him lately. Ask him how he feels about what's going on, or give him some insight. I wish I could talk to him so that I could get a sense. I need desperately to see my son. It brought me to tears. I'm tearing up right now, thinking about it. I really do desperately need to see my son. I don't think that it's a sense of hopelessness, but if it makes you feel hopeless, if it feels hopeless, then yeah, I think that person has lost everything. I think at least bottom line, if nothing else, have hope. Hope is everything. I hope I see or talk or whatever with my son soon. I hope that they catch these knuckleheads, Bin Laden and them. We're this rich nation, we're so decadent. And you think maybe we deserve this, even though we don't. No. those interviews on the news saying that we're so arrogant and that we deserve this. I don't believe that. No. But anyways, I hope that this whole matter resolves itself soon, and it's gonna be a while. I'm picking up the puzzle pieces of my life and putting everything back together and letting it see if this piece fits this or that. I need some sort of conclusion from my ladies and gentlemen, the news, my son, and then I could move on.
I think in times like that, your instinct is to sort of try to cling to what's normal. I felt a great desire to remain, to keep an atmosphere of calm. I felt a great responsibility to show them an example of someone who was not going to fall apart, because I felt that if, there's nothing scarier, and they're only 13 and 14 years old, and there's nothing scarier, I think, than being in a scary situation and then seeing that an adult who's supposed to be in charge is really scared. But on the other hand, I was terrified. I mean, deep down, I was terrified. And at the same time, I was 5 months pregnant, and I remember just, being very conscious of that. And I remember saying to my students, actually, I want you all to know that we're all perfectly safe. Believe me, I'm carrying very precious cargo. And if I thought we were in danger, I would be leaving. We would be leaving. And I said that even though I did feel afraid, because we had no idea what was going on. There were some days where I thought that maybe I would take a leave of absence, and I ended up deciding that probably we're okay, and that I sort of had to trust the way I felt. And the fact is that I felt fine. It was very gross and smelt horrible walking from the subway to school, but I never had a sore throat. I never got a headache. I felt fine, and I felt like I sort of needed to trust that. It's funny because for the first 3 months, I would say, after the attack, so throughout November, for all of September, October, November, I felt actively, sort of an active sense of fear every day that I think everyone felt. And then one day I just sort of felt less afraid. But during that time of feeling afraid, I felt like I was crazy to be in New York. And I know that people with children especially felt a strong desire, or considered more actively than other people who don't have children, considered more actively leaving New York. And I had lots of conversations with my friends about whether or not we would, whether we would consider just completely changing our lives and leaving New York. So far, I don't know anyone who has done that. But do I plan to raise my child in New York? Yes, I love New York. And I believe that if my husband and baby and I were to move to, I don't know where we would go, the country? I think maybe we would move to Western Massachusetts if we did have to move to a totally different life. But if you do that, what has happened is you've allowed your life to be completely defined by one event. I would always know that. When I was 31 years old, I had a baby and moved to the country and quit my job and left everything behind because of this terrorist attack. And I think it's really problematic to allow your life to be completely defined by one event. I think that some people show each other, I've always found New York to be a very friendly place. I feel like there's this really weird myth about New York being really unfriendly. I'm from Boston, and Boston is unfriendly. New York is not unfriendly. And you always have sort of encounters with people on the street, and I feel like in the same way, like everywhere in the world, in cities, people really bond together when something disastrous happens, like a blizzard or a tornado, or when something big happens, and then all of a sudden everyone is really nice to each other on the streets or whatever. And I've always felt that New York was in a sort of constant state of disaster. And there was always this feeling that we were in sort of something together. Yeah, and I feel, in a way, New Yorkers were very well equipped to handle what happened on September the 11th, because we are used to feeling like we're in this sort of state of crisis. And this was just a much worse state of crisis than normal. I do think that some people show each other more kindness. More people wished me a Happy New Year, for instance, than normal, like cab drivers and people in stores. You know, I really believe in healing. And I think that New York will be healed. I think you have to believe that.
I wasn't sure as to how a terrorist attack was supposed to be. So when they said no one will be going to school tomorrow, I was like, my brother goes to Bronx. Can't he go to school? When I told my parents we were going to Brooklyn Tech, my family was like, Brooklyn, ooh. My aunt called me. My grandma called me. All my grandma's friends called me with numbers of people they knew in Brooklyn. Oh, and my other aunt was like, I know a teacher at Brooklyn Tech because she's my best friend's daughter, and here's her number. And I was like, do you really think I'm going to call a Brooklyn Tech teacher? These people, because they were watching the news all the time. And it was these STI students, these poor STI students at a ground zero high school are being relocated to Brooklyn Tech. I mean, and then we got to Brooklyn Tech, and everybody was really mad. And I was like, we have to go to Brooklyn Tech? That sucks, but hey, 1 o'clock in the afternoon is an okay time for me. But everybody was like, I want to go to STI. I want to go to STI. And I was like, have you seen STI in the news? There's smoke all around it. I really don't think we should go to STI right now. But it was kind of weird because it was only 3 days that I was at STI, and I was trying to develop some sort of system for getting to class. But at Brooklyn Tech, I was like, what is this whole north-south-west thing? But it was kind of good because everybody was new. So it wasn't oh my God, look at the stupid freshies. It was more oh my God, look at the stupid STI people. And everybody was like, where the hell are my classes? So it was kind of everybody was a freshman. The whole freshman thing. I walked in the wrong class because I couldn't figure out the number system. But it was happening to everybody, Also, the thing was in the sense that we kind of took a break from what we were doing because teachers didn't want to give you homework. We had 26-minute periods, and all my classes started out with write down how you're feeling today. But oh my lordy Lou, the stairs. I remember one day I was walking up the stairs and these Brooklyn Tech people were spitting at me, go the other way. And I was like, other way? There's another way. What is this stupid up downstairs thing? But Brooklyn Tech was kind of all right. And then we got back to STI and everyone was really excited. Oh my God, STI. And I was like, does anyone else but me realize that when we go back to STI, we have to wake up at 6 in the morning? Am I the only one that thinks that? Say goodbye to your late night friends. You have to wake up early and go to sleep early. And I was like, you guys are stupid. 45-minute periods again? You guys are so out of your minds.
I went down to change my program. It's on the second floor, and I saw something hit the building the first time. I saw the whole thing. I saw something hit the building, and then everyone was just laughing. Everyone was laughing. So I went back up to class. I was talking to some of my friends. I was asking if they saw the plane hit, and they were like, yeah, and they were laughing. They're like, yeah, this guy was blazed. This guy was just totally stoned. Some moron hit the building. And then we got up to Spanish, and that's when the second plane hit. I actually saw a guy, he threw a chair out the window, and that's when everyone started caring. Yeah, before they were all thinking it was just a joke. They were really heartless. No, I'm serious, they were just so heartless, because they were laughing after the first one hit, and then after the second one hit, some of them started crying and stuff. I'm saying, why were you laughing then? After the first one, you know there's nothing to be funny about. I know some people, they're like, well, that's just their luck, you know. Some people, they have good luck and they win the lottery, and other people, they have bad luck and they get killed like this. A lot of those people were my friends, or they're still my friend. I'm not gonna not be someone's friend just because they said something or because they're thinking in one way, but it made me think about them in a whole different way, and that's really horrible to say, because all those people died, and you can't just laugh it off. It's not just something you can laugh off. I try not to think about it too much, because we had a week off from school, and every day I would just call up some friend. We'll go see a movie or play baseball, play basketball. We'll just do stuff like that to get my mind off this. My cousin was affected too. After a while, he stopped partying for a week, and that was a really long time for him. That was a really long time for him. I don't think we'll ever be normal again after what happened. It made me mature a lot emotionally. It made me realize the world's not what I thought before. A lot more fucked up people than I thought.
My name is Hector Perez. I'm from the Dominican Republic. I want to be a sports editor for some magazine. I like to read. Do I play? Yeah, I play lots of sports, ever since I learned to walk.
I'm a slave for you. That's my jam. I'm Haiti Sanabria. I'm Puerto Rican, and I love to sing and dance. When my moms ain't looking, I'd be running to the stairs place of my apartment building so I can sing as loud as I want to. Britney, J-Lo, Shakira. What else do I do in the stairwell? I cry.
A lot of people can walk, and they take that for granted. The doctor said I never get to walk because of my condition. I worked real hard on PT, physical therapy, and it hurt a lot, but not as much as what people say.
I cry in the stairwell because I don't want my moms to hear me, because then she starts crying too. I live with my grandmother. She's been my mother for as long as I can remember. My real mother died from AIDS before I can remember what she looked like. I just know people come up to me and say I look just like her, but I don't mind, because me, my grandmoms, my real moms, and me all got the same name, Haiti, so it's okay when people say I look like Haiti, like me.
People look at me, and sometimes it's all in my head. Some pity, some smile and look away, some make fun of me. I decided a long time ago that if people don't want to get to know me because they can't get over my disability, then it's their loss. When people make me feel sad, I don't even want those people to feel what I feel by making fun of them, so I turn the other cheek. I play basketball, baseball, anything that calls for two legs, because now I got them.
My dad lives in the Bronx, and he always be getting me stuff like video games. I wake up early just to play them. I like him and all, but he be introducing me to his girlfriends, and I'd be like, But then he talks to me, tells me how much he loved my mom, how much he loves me. He always provides for me. I'm his baby. He's the only one I could be me in front of.
I was born in a wheelchair. The doctor said I'd die there too, but it's not in me to quit, to be hopeless. You need hope. We need hope. I remembered after the first plane hit, and no matter where you were, you could see the smoke. I was with my friends and our teachers were crying. I just tried to be strong for them to pray. I prayed for me too, for my dad to pick me up and bring me home. And there he was. He said he ran to school from Chinatown.
This stairwell is where I sing and cry as loud as I want and no one could hear me. Then I go back to my mom's and she'd be like, "Where you been?" I look at her straight and I say, "I just been places." I don't need her worrying about me. She did enough of that for my mom when I don't remember much of my mom, but I remember my grandma crying.
Seeing it on TV made me want to help out, do something. I feel bad. No matter how independent I want to be, I can't think of a place without moms and dads. I got a big family, they got my back, and I couldn't imagine them not being there for me.
Yeah, it was loud and everybody was running, screaming. My brother goes to St. John's, so I knew I had someone to take care of me, somebody to take me home. He's always there for me when people make fun of me and call me slow.
I cried a lot for the families who are hurting. I pray for them every day. I feel bad, but I know it's going to get better.
When I got home, I started drawing like mad, trying to remember what the towers look like before I forget. And I took my favorite one and hung it up on my wall, and I put Christmas lights around it, white Christmas lights, and I just looked at it until I fell asleep.
I don't like it when people treat me differently, better or worse, just because of this. I want them to see me, the me who doesn't want to be pitied or pegged useless. Ignorance hurts.
So it wasn't quite, like sophomore year wasn't quite as good as I thought it was going to be, even though it was like the third or fourth day of school. After school, I was leaving, it was around 4 o'clock. I always wanted to take the Q train. It was like a very intriguing train for me. The Q train goes by Kings Highway, and there's a Kaplan there, the college test review course or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to go there after I take my PSATs or whatever junior year so I can do good on my SATs. And this woman next to us, she turns around and she goes, I took Kaplan, and it was terrible. I ended up studying out of my Princeton review, or my friend's Princeton review book course, or whatever. I was like, thank you very much. And it was just so weird for someone to be so friendly. So, anyways, I get off the train, and all of a sudden I realize I have no idea where I'm going. The ferry leaves, this time, and this time, and I just been that ferry. So I go down to where the ferry was supposed to be, and it's like abandoned, except for this one Russian guy, who I ask him, was there a ferry here? And he's like, no speak English. So I'm like, okay. And I swear to you, all of a sudden, the heavens just break loose, and it just starts pouring. I had to run down 3 blocks, and there was this one kid who was just getting off work in this Wervet with one leg. So I called my mom because there was clearly no way I was getting out of there. And my dad came, and he picked me up, and he bailed me out. So, I remember being in my room. It was around, 8 o'clock. And I just thought to myself, today was a bad day. And my mom, she was like, don't worry, tomorrow will be a better day. And that was September 10th.
I went to all those vigils that happened in Union Square right afterwards, and it was just the most amazing experience. It gave me so much faith in New York. I was almost more nostalgic, but optimistic and hopeful and trusting and forgiving of people than I ever thought anybody could be in this situation. And I don't know, it was just that everything that was missing from New York was suddenly back there again. And before I was always thinking, I'm leaving for college, I'm gonna move to some nice, clean city where everybody likes each other. And then after this, I just realized that no matter how far I go, I always have to come back here because the feeling that I've gotten within the last 3 months has been an irreplaceable one. Every time I walk down 6th Avenue and saw the empty space, I would start to cry a little bit, but every time I saw someone with an American flag, I would feel a little better. I'm not like a major nationalist or anything. It doesn't even mean nationalism to me. To me, it means like spirit and pride in not just your country, but pride in yourself as a person and as a community. In the flag ceremony, I chose to be the United States, which was a lot of fun. Everyone who carried all the flags was awesome, and everybody was really into it, so it was a really nice ceremony in general. I was very happy that I got to kind of represent America, partially just because I don't really identify with any other nation. I'm a mix of everything, so I couldn't have really attributed myself to anything besides America, but still, it felt really good to be able to think to myself, even if only to myself, that I was like some part of the American spirit, whatever that means.
There were people there all the time. And they weren't even New Yorkers. They weren't even visiting something, taking a look at something that used to be there. No, these were people from Kansas and Oklahoma and Missouri who had seen these places on postcards and wanted to buy hats and pins and stand around singing "God Bless America" and things like that. Which made me sick. The pictures are what really did it for me. They had those little dispensable things that you might whip out for a trip to Disney World or the Grand Canyon. Those little plastic things, those little yellow ones where everyone crowds around and the flashes make those tiny, annoying yellow sounds. One time, someone actually asked me to take a picture of them standing in this solemn pose with the wreckage as a backdrop. I couldn't do it. I nearly threw the camera back at them. I couldn't. It made me sick. For a while I even had this retort worked out in my head where I'd even rehearsed it a few times back when it made me really mad. I would take the camera and I would throw it back at them. Maybe even in their face, and I would say to them, the next time someone blows up something important to you in your backyard, I will be sure to pose in the pictures that I want to take. I'll be sure to ask you to take them too. Or something like that. I don't know. I remember swearing a lot in them. Those little monologues that were supposed to be delivered to those little people. There's an observation deck on Broadway and Barclay. The fact that there are 3,000 people sitting up there staring at the tomb, all the wreckage and the rubble, that's awesome enough in and of itself. So much to look at. I'm reluctant to give the "I appreciate everything so much more" speech, because I'm not I'm actually more upset with the country I live in now that prior to the attacks, people, my friends actually, a lot of my peers had these cynical, the dollar runs America kind of ideas. And I admit that I thought that too. But I also thought that if something awful happened, or if something truly meaningful happened, that people would, I don't know, calm down and behave like sensible human beings. But after this, I realized that that's not true. You know, a month after the attack, there were all these patriotic car ads on the television. You know, Chevy was saying he was being a good American company by offering 0% financing on its latest truck. You know, I think that if you were an American then, you're an American now. Our freedom is still here. They didn't take that away. They just attacked us because they disagreed with us. And they killed a lot of innocent people. And you know, that is what we should be mourning. We shouldn't be mourning about attacks on our liberty. We shouldn't be upset about attacks on our way of life. No, we should be upset that a lot of friends, a lot of children, a lot of people's sons and daughters, a lot of people's mothers and fathers were killed. And, some families no longer have a provider. Some families no longer have a house. And that is what we should all be mourning. Yeah, I think school's okay. I think that for the first time in a long while, I've actually looked forward to the prospects of the social opportunities of being around a lot of people that I can speak to. It's not even that I do. I don't, but walking through those halls and knowing that you're in a safety net or you're right next to one, it's very reassuring. And it's that or going home and being alone. And it is alone, really, with your mom who's she's dealing with her own, she's dealing with it in her own way. Just talking it to death whenever people are over or we're at people's houses. She's got a list of things that she says. First, there's the story of how she got the dog out. Then there's the story of how we had to move into the hotel and go from house to house. And then there's the story of how the turmoil in Afghanistan caused all this to happen. And it takes her, it's all these stories. I can time them. It's an hour and a half for her to get the whole thing out. Give or take maybe 10 or 15 minutes of people interjecting their little thoughts here and there. But it's an hour and a half for her to get the thing out, and I'm sick of it, but that's what she needs. And when I finally run out of homework, and I run out of distractions to find, all I'm left with are the things in my head that I don't think I can wrap my mind around. There are things that I don't think I can or want to be able to come to terms with. I don't know if I'm supposed to look, when I was, how old was I? I was 14. I thought that every generation had something bigger than themselves that they had to deal with, that they had to grow up through or grow up around. At the time, we were riding this high of economic boom. Everyone was, buying new things and getting jobs and making more money and getting happier and happier. And I thought, we're not going to have a big war. It's not even that I want one. But we're not going to have a breakthrough either. There isn't going to be any adversity for us to overcome. Look, I guess I was wrong.
Hey,
but
you know you weren't wrong.
Yep, I was.
You weren't.
I wasn't?
Nope. You know all those things you said about what people want to do? You know this didn't need to happen. The disparity, the discomfort around the world is absurd. There's an old plotted course, and nobody gives a fuck. And the fact that, the people don't have the intelligence or the consciences is tragic. But well, why aren't you? You're an intelligent person. I'm assuming you go to Stuyvesant. You gotta put that in perspective, 3,500 people died today in the Congo. Well, died yesterday. September 11th, 36,000 children starved to death. I mean, everything was all hunky-dory here until that happened, because our values are twisted. And that's the reality, that it's global. This is a global thing, and people don't really want to talk about this that much, but, at the end of the day, the dollar does drive America. And not that you really have anything to do with it or anything, but, as you start to get more access to information and resources, you want to be a part of it. And not that you're a bad guy or anything, but it's just, the internet. There's a global capital, which is basically what the deal is. 45 people have 50% of the wealth in the world, and now that the corporations are now conglomerating, it's absurd, and they don't give a fuck. A tiny example is Enron. How low can you get? These guys sold out. They cashed out their chips. They sold their own stock to their own workers, knowing that they were going to crash. To their own workers? You're talking about millionaires here, the people who elected our president. So that's basically what the deal is. It's really a real loss. This money obsession is basically the deal. Money is basically the deal, the haves and the have-nots. The history of this country relative to racism still has not been solved. But if it was more of an equal distribution, I teach Chinese kids that just came over, and I teach American teenagers too. So there are all kinds of assessments. So basically, the average kids are thrown out. And it's just, your system, my system, our system. I'm a Stuyvesant graduate too, It's just, the hierarchy doesn't allow for much change at the bottom. And it's just really difficult for me, because I'm wound up too. So I can't wrap my head around it, because even these alternative schools, even they refuse to allow us to do anything. Everyone, they're afraid to stand up. They don't realize what's about to happen. So when you look at it this way, you're talking about a lot of people here. We're talking about 1 million people here. When you vote, by the way, Giuliani, the World Trade Center notwithstanding, what he did in 8 years was basically criminal. He basically tried to destroy the entire system, which is absurd. I mean, oh my God. You can't undermine the teachers, whatever their competence is. We need to teach the young people certain things if they want to, enter this world. And we're just not doing that, Well, that's my cynical rant for the day. All right, be well. I wish you guys luck. Take care now.
It has been a bit ridiculous, but I think everyone's had to have their cries and, get some stuff out. But I think the major disorder, I just noticed it was almost impossible to have conversations. Because, you just couldn't catch the conversation. People couldn't focus. It was a stream of ideas. And that was almost driving me crazy. But I think for a little while, I think people felt badly. They couldn't just talk to people about things. People couldn't just shoot the shit, so to speak. It was a bit difficult. I think I've been spacing out lately, and I don't know, sometimes I lack motivation to talk to people. Or, I just don't have the energy. The emotional energy. There was definitely a problem. Some days you think about it a lot and just feel sorry for yourself. I needed some tender loving, I think, from my family. I think it was good because I'm close with my family. My mom's a bit of an anxious person, and I'm just naturally, my demeanor is a little bit more chilled out. We were both stressed out. I think there's just so much uncertainty. Like sometimes, I don't want to go home. And my home is the perfect place to be. There's no reason for me to not go home. Sometimes I just want to chill with my friends. I never felt that way before. And sometimes I just want to go home and not talk to anyone. Sometimes I don't know where I stand.
I think that, at least for me, when it first happened, the first thing I said to myself was, okay, this is the wake-up call for you and the rest of the world. This is when you're going to start, living your life to the fullest, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't happen. It really doesn't. You still don't tell people all you want to tell them. You still don't live life without regret. You still... Like, my philosophy on life hasn't changed much, and I'm not like, oh, now let me go out and party and, live each day to the fullest. Because, that's what I wanted to do, really just, enjoy life, because you never know when it's going to end. And I was busy spending all my time with books and schoolwork. I don't know have you ever been to Rockaway? It happened on a Monday morning, Veterans Day. I was really just starting to heal from the attacks. I was really just starting to move on with my life. If I looked out my window, I could see where those houses stood. It was around 8 o'clock. I was lying in bed, and I wake up, and I'm like, oh, I want to go back to sleep. So actually, it was more like 9:15. I hear a plane, and this is like all within a 30-second time span. But I'm lying in bed in like this weird position in my covers, and I keep telling myself, Eddie, don't look out the window. Whatever you do, don't look out the window. It just got unbearably, the worst sound you could have ever heard in your life. It was just the most loudest, insane, just moaning thing. And all of a sudden there's a bang, and the most gigantic roar you've ever heard, like a whoosh. As soon as we ran out and the plane had crashed, I almost wondered if the wall was about to come down, caving in on me. I figured wow, maybe this is it for me. I was like, wow, I'm about to die. It's just the strangest, weird feeling. The plane flattened 3 houses, but I really just haven't come to terms or dealt with the fact that that's happened. I think September 11th, thus far in my life, was the most pivotal event in my life. It was the most pivotal event ever in the world, We were there for this, but I was there for the plane crash. And sometimes you feel like you're unlucky because all of these things happen to you, but then I'm lucky because it could have been me. That could have been my house that just flattened. The plane in Rockaway. This is my block. And it's just a lot more personal, and it's so close. And I guess, whatever. I'm just forever thankful that I didn't look out my window that day.
There was this constant pressure. Because the situation was changing every day. And there were meetings every day, during school, at Brooklyn Tech, before school, after school. I missed half my classes because of it. Because we're trying to come up with all these contingency plans, how we can improve Brooklyn Tech, the students, and how to make it as best as possible. And all of our efforts that we came up with, meeting with Mr. Blaufarb and Mr. Heedle, they basically had meetings throughout the day, and well, the next day everything changed. So then we had to start from basically scratch. And a lot of the things, the Board of Ed was just very uncooperative with us. They wouldn't tell us the test results, or they wouldn't tell us this and that. And it just felt like they were kind of ruining everything that we're trying to do. And that made it very frustrating. But, yeah. The most important thing, the most difficult thing was just trying to figure out, everything, what was going on and how best to, help the situation. Because, even as SU Pres, it was just so frustrating to see, okay, so what can I really do, to help the situation? And the only thing that I could think of was to, I guess to warn people as best as possible through emails, whatever, what I knew of what was happening with the situation. And, well, other things, some people have stuff in their lockers, and I was just trying to think of situations, maybe we can have someone come into the building, or maybe I could come into the building and get the things. But then everything kept getting frustrated, either by the administration or more likely, the Board of Education, because it wasn't safe here, or this, or that. So it felt, I guess, powerless. I wish I could have done more, for me, for the students. But everything that we did and we tried to do was basically worthless. A waste of time. It was a lot of bullshit politics.
My week was going great at that point, No school, no homework. And then I heard about it on the internet at home. We were going to tech. Okay. At first, it sucked, okay? But I was going to tech because I didn't want to go to that school on 60th Street. What was it called? King? Yeah, it's called King. Now, listen. Look, I did want to go to Brooklyn Tech because I know mad people there, but you see, that other school was a ghetto-ass school. Oh my gosh, it was really ghetto there. But anyway, first day of classes. No, I meant first day of school. It was cool. I got to see all my old friends. And then, yeah, it was pretty cool. But That assembly, though, pretty boring. I fell asleep. Anyway, the first day of classes, I was like, I was so bored, again, the classes, but they were pretty short. They were mad short, so, that was cool. Oh, but I gotta tell you, to get through that building, Brooklyn Tech's building, my God, I needed a compass, man. Like, I had no idea where I was going. And to get through those steps, man, I lost mad weight. Like, I swear, man. Man, like, I was mad pissed, okay? I care about my weight. Now, anyway, the thing is, oh yeah, I forgot to talk about this. The workload, it was the same as STI, okay? So that was pretty cool. I mean, we just did what was required, and then the schedule. The schedule was pretty cool too. I mean, can you believe it? Like, the workload is the same, and the schedule, like, it's just 26 minutes. The period is 26 minutes. Here the STI, it's 26 minutes. Can you do like 41 minus 26? You know what the answer is? It's like, wait, I don't know. What's the answer? But anyway, it's shorter. Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's shorter. So, just the fact that, B-Tech kids have this so much easier, my gosh, I envy them. But anyway, that's cool. But anyway, after school, every single day, me and my friends, we would just like go to my boy's house, and then we had like a fiesta all the time, man. Like, let me show you what we did. Like, we were like, we were kind of like, having fun, on like a fiesta. It was pretty cool. And after that, it was 8:00, and then I got home at 8:00. But it doesn't really matter, right? Because I got homework, but it doesn't really matter because it's just homework. I mean, who cares? I'm a senior, right? So I don't care. Anyway, yeah, the weeks dragged on, just on and on, just the same old. So, but what I can say is that I was mad happy, anticipating for our return to STI, because I just couldn't wait, I love my building, and so anyway, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the final assembly, right? It was cool, like, everything was ending, but I still fell asleep, so, it was just that. Okay, back to STI, what am I saying? Okay, back to STI, because finally, we can talk about STI now, because we is much better, all right? We is much better. We got escalators, does B-Tech have escalators? Nah, we got the escalators, man. And then what else do we have? We have we have better rooms, much cleaner rooms, more beautiful rooms, man. I was just like, I just couldn't wait until like I could breathe the rooms, like breathing these rooms, and B-Tech rooms, kind of stinky, All right, so that's what I would say. But anyway, me and my boys, I remember at Stuyvesant, we roamed the halls, We were kind of going like, yo, the halls. Yo, we roamed this school, and we run this school, man. I got the school on the lot, boy. So it's just kind of like, how it was. And let me just say this. I still like some kids at B-Tech, but look, I love STI. So that's that.
I guess I'm still walking every morning or after school, and on my way to school and my way home from school, I always make a point in looking over at the site at Ground Zero and just thinking about that there are hundreds of people who lost their lives and still their bodies are still there. It's almost so out of respect. I think about them every time I pass by, so every day I think about it. I am glad to be back here because it's our school. We feel that sense of community, a sense of getting back to normal. And I think that's in terms of being healthy physically. I think the people are saying the air quality is fine now. I think it is. The problem is that it can become worse than it is. Our imaginations are far scarier than actual reality. Well, I'll tell you about one incident not long after, I think it's right at Broken Tech, and I was on one of those new Super Duper number 6 trains, and there's something wrong with the announcer system, so we can hear everything the conductor was saying, and the conductor was clearly speeding. I mean, this train, have you been on a subway train when it was speeding? You know that this guy is going much faster than he's supposed to be going. This train was ripping from, it was number 6 train, but it was going express, and it was going, the train was rattling, and you can hear all their conversations they were talking, and so I thought for a moment, what? It just flashed in my mind for a second that someone could hijack a subway train and crash into another subway train. Have you ever seen this movie called Taking a Pelham 123? I remember watching this movie, this 1970s movie, and some group that I don't remember the name of, or if they were kidnapping train for money or something. I can't remember things, So they kidnapped this one train on the Green Line, the 5x6, yeah. So it flashed in my mind for a second as the train was racing, out of control, going so fast, and we're hearing all this weird conversation that we shouldn't be hearing, that there's something wrong, but then I thought, my thought was just from my clearly vivid imagination. But then it stopped, and I could have gone off and taken local, but I stayed on train, and but we're just coping and adjusting, and adolescents are amazingly resilient. So are the teachers as well. Teachers with windows, like my window faces the World Trade Center, so some teachers were coming in on a late schedule, so they actually saw the plane hit the building. It may take some of the teachers and students who are on a late schedule longer than others to adjust. Overall, I think people are doing pretty well. I'm doing well. I was concerned for our student population, the Muslim students we have at school, and not only the Muslim students, but students that people associate with in any way with the events. For example, some people think that the sheiks who wear traditional turbans are South Asians, or if you look South Asian, or you're looking at way Middle Eastern targeted. So just in general, this kind of targeting, discrimination based on the people who are afraid to quote Middle Eastern looking, it concerns me greatly. So, so that it got me really worried.
That was probably one of the toughest parts about September 11th. The backlash. The trauma or whatever of actually seeing it and experiencing it is something everyone can relate to. But something everyone can't relate to is fearing. Fearing for your safety, or more for the safety of my mother, who covers her hair, or of my sister or my father, worrying for their safety from ignorant people who would do something to them just because they're Muslim. And that's what I was afraid of. Like in the moments afterwards, because I was as afraid as everyone else was about another attack and the safety of the nation, but I was personally worried about the safety of my family members because of the backlash against Muslim Americans. And the fact that someone who doesn't know what they're doing, or someone who's extremely angry, can decide to take out their anger on a member of my family, or me for that matter. But characterizing an entire group by a small minority of that group, you can say that for any group. For instance, white Americans. How many white Americans are skinheads or things like that? A very, very small minority. Therefore, you don't characterize all white Americans as people who are racist or people who hate other people's color or hate minorities. It's the same thing with Muslim Americans, just Muslims in general. Because there is a small minority who hate American culture. You can't tag all Muslims with that. If you do, then that's just pure ignorance, and I don't know what to tell you. You should go out and learn about the religion, because it's just not true. When you're walking down the street and people are looking at you in a wrong way, and I'd ask them why they're looking at me, and they tell you, either with their eyes or whatever, you can understand that they're like, yeah, you guys are terrorists, or something. And you just try not to get angry and explain their religion. I was profiled, actually, on the subway by a police officer. He was giving me trouble as to where I was going and what I was doing. I just put out my STI ID on him and I'm like, I'm going to school. Is that all right? But yeah, it was awesome. Because I was never worried about nothing like that ever happening while I'm in STI. I don't know, I just feel a sense of security while I'm here. And I know a lot of the people. If someone were to do something stupid or ignorant or of the nature I was talking about earlier, then what can we do? I mean, it's only a small amount of people that would ever do something like that, and I guess they just don't know. But the general STI community it's an intelligent community, and everyone knows what's going on, you know? And that's kind of cool.
Okay, the stories. I've handled the Stuyvesant American flag more than anybody in this building for the past 8.5 years. I kept good care of it. I kept it in this one corner on the stage so that nothing would happen to it. In other words, when it came here from the old school, one of the wings got broken off the flagpole. Then, during one of the sing rehearsals, the other wing got broken off. But that's when it went to that one corner. So I cleared out that corner and kept it there. When we came back from Brooklyn Tech, I was looking all around the building. I was in the building a week before everybody else, trying to get everything back in order. Telephones were all messed up. Televisions were irrelevant, okay? But trying to get the building back into sorts, okay? And one of the things that I noticed on the stage was the base of the flag. And no flag. So I was looking all around the building, trying to find the flag, and I couldn't find it. Just kept looking and looking, just randomly. Oh, one particular morning though, I was on the stage and I saw the base. By coincidence, someone showed me one of those books that was published that had to do something with September 11th, and I was flipping through it, looking at the pictures, and I come across a picture of firemen installing a flag on the mast of the World Trade Center, and when I saw that picture, my jaw dropped. It was our flag. She said, "How'd you know?" I said, "I handled it more than anybody," and I described the flag from one end to the other. The brown wooden staff, the 6-inch brass coupling that held the two pieces together, the gold fringe that went around the flag, the gold tassel that dangled off the top of it, and the eagle missing both of its wings. Now, it's a strange thing that I said to the spectator. I don't know if you want to use this, but I said, seeing the missing wings symbolizes to me the fact that the Trade Center, it's gone, okay? The missing wings symbolizes the Twin Towers, okay? They're both gone, but the flag is still waving. So since then, after seeing that picture, I showed the picture to a couple of other people, including Jimmy Leonardo, who agreed that was our flag. I'd wrap that thing up for him every graduation so he could take it over to Avery Fisher, for graduation. And it's been at every Stuyvesant graduation for years. So from there, he agreed that was our flag, all right? And after that, I went to the administration and I showed them the pictures and I asked them if we could get in touch with the mayor's office to see if we could get our flag back, or, at the very least, some recognition that picture in this book is our flag on the World Trade Center. And they said no. Said, "We've been in the press long enough. The last thing we want is to stir the pot over some flag." So from there, I basically dropped it, and I heard from a couple of people that the flag was sent on one of those aircraft carriers, and it was sent to Afghanistan. So now the flag is the flag's in Afghanistan. That's the last I've heard of it. Some people make comments about that picture being equal to what was it? To that. Drawing a blank here. To that one island with the statue on it. It's Iwo Jima. It's Iwo Jima. I remembered.